This guy went from becoming a popular pop star to becoming a preacher.
Утром проснулся я вдруг, подумав, что не помешало бы мне отдохнуть от трудов, от забот,
The story about here right now is a story of purpose. Some of you think that what you are doing with your life is exactly what you still be doing the next 10 years. You have no idea. This is his story.
Hi, my name is Christian Ray Flores. I'm a minister now, but I used to be an international pop star. I gave my life to Christ, and eventually I transitioned out of that life into pastoring all over the world. This is my story. You know, at the very peak of my fame, I realized that there was a lot of things that were missing in my character that basically made fame less enjoyable, let's put it that way. I was pretty depressed. And I actually grew up in an atheist home. Both my mom and dad didn't believe in God, so I didn't know anybody who was spiritual at all. I had a girlfriend who I was dating, wasn't intending to marry, and we had a baby, and she left because I was treating her terribly. And that's what I did. I would undermine every relationship that I was in. I was very hurt by the divorce of my parents, and I basically come from 3 generations of broken homes.
All right, Mr. Christian. Many years ago, you were into pop music. What was it like back then?
Well, thanks for asking, Lucky. This was in Eastern Europe, Russia, Eurasia, all of the 15 countries of the ex-Soviet Union. It was wonderful. I thought it was exhilarating. I got to travel across that whole space, many languages, many nations, and we played sports arenas. We had several hits in a row, and we got to even help one of the presidents get elected, and Mr. Boris Yeltsin, in his re-election campaign in 1996. So, and then there's always some downsides to fame, as you know, probably.
Oh, interesting. You know, I'm really curious about something.
Yeah.
Why did you switch from, something so exciting to becoming a preacher?
Well, at the very peak of my fame, I realized that there was a lot of things that were missing in my character that basically made fame but very less enjoyable, let's put it that way. I was pretty depressed. And I actually grew up in an atheist home. Both my mom and dad didn't believe in God, so I didn't know anybody who was spiritual at all until I met this Canadian missionary in Moscow, and somebody invited me to a church service. We went out, and looking at this man who became essentially my first coach. That's part of the reason why I coach high performers now, is that there's a certain level of inner mastery that is necessary for someone to have healthy, happy outer influence, outer impact, and success. And I just didn't have that. I had outer success, but I did not have inner mastery. And I became a Christian, and it was such a big difference for me in my marriage, my character, my friendships, my views of everything, money, fame, creativity, all of those things, that in a couple of years later, I thought, you know what, I really feel called to do this because it changed me so profoundly that I want to help others change as well. And I also wanted to do nonprofit work. I became very much involved in philanthropy. Locally, I wanted to do it internationally. I also wanted to do some entrepreneurial things, and also I wanted to really expand my horizons beyond sort of that Eastern European space. So there's more than one reason. I also want to start a family, and touring doesn't really help start a family. So there's a few reasons for that, but those were the reasons basically.
So how would you compare your life at the moment with the life you used to live many years ago?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's I get to serve the poor. I have a couple of philanthropic efforts. One of them is actually in Africa, in Mozambique. And I get to preach. I've done so much work in ministry. I've spoken literally on 4 continents. I've been able to help people. My marriage is wonderful and fantastic. My kids respect me. I have a couple of companies that I run as well. And basically all of the reasons why I left pop music at the time, those are the reasons that all of these things came true, basically. So I'm basically enjoying that kind of life.
Well, that's interesting. Looking at the way missionary works in the world, or let's talk about religion, Christianity.
Yeah.
From your perspective, since you became a minister, what's something you want to do differently, or what is something you're already doing differently?
Well, I would say this. I like a ministry or a church community to be a free community. So to be less of a hierarchy and more of a network, So pretty much every ministry I've built, every church I've led, and I've led several of them, I've built under the principle that I see in Scripture that the original church was really more of a network, not completely a network and no hierarchy, but because obviously there's authority there, but it was more of a network and less of a hierarchy. And I just prefer that kind of community, freedom in Christ, all kinds of connections, deep relationships, a lot of joy.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, since you became a minister, you're currently doing gospel music at the moment, or you stopped it completely?
No, I do it every once in a while. Every once in a while, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm doing gospel music, because every once in a while I sing in the worship band because they ask me to participate, and obviously I can still sing. And but every once in a while, yeah, I do a little music.
Okay, all right, that's good. So, is there something you do that kind of make you feel like you could still go back to the life you used to live before? Maybe you mentioned you have a couple of companies. It could be their interactions that sometimes reminds you of some of the things you used to enjoy back then with the former life. Have you ever felt this nostalgia that makes you feel like you want to go back, but maybe you do things a bit differently this time, but you want to go back?
Well, I would say that I don't want to go back to being a pop star. No, to answer your question. And I'll tell you why. It's an exciting life, but especially if beyond maybe 5 to 10 years, which my career was about 10 years when I left, you start seeing pop stars, even very, very successful ones, and I have really dear friends who are still doing it and doing it very well, that your creativity is actually not as interesting to the generation that grew up on a certain types of songs, right? So beyond like a decade or maybe 15 years, new songs don't land as well. So although you're doing creative work, you basically do a lot of shows in front of a lot of people maybe, but they want to listen to the old songs because they grew up with them. So in that sense, it's actually less creative. It's more performative. There's more performances, but less creativity. Even though you can write songs and everything, but people just don't want to hear them anymore. Like, ask any pop star that has been around for 20 years, and they'll tell you that to be true, right? Now, with very rare exceptions, obviously. I do a lot of creative work. So I have a brand strategy, personal brand development company, Third Drive Media. We do all kinds of stuff for startups and businesses and organizations, nonprofits, even churches, personal brands. So we do every single day. I do creative work. I do video work. I do websites, logos, brand. I have a team, obviously. I have a newsletter. ChristianRayFlores.com is a newsletter. So I write 2 emails a week. So there's a lot of creative work there. Basically, I am actually drowning in creative work. So I don't miss that part at all because I'm creative every day.
Oh, that's interesting. That's good. So, you're now married. You have children.
Yeah, I've been married for 25 years. I have 3 grown daughters who are wonderful.
Wow.
All of them are out of the house. Yeah.
Wow. Wait, you mean that what this story right now is from 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's a long time. Okay, so I can then imagine.
Well,
okay.
I was married and had my kids when I was still doing music, so it's
Okay,
not,
you
the
mentioned
story's
you
not-
wanted to start a family.
Yeah, no, I did start a family. I was still doing music, and then I transitioned out.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, how did you find God? You grew up in an atheist family. You were a
Yeah.
pop star, making music, making money. How did you find God? How did you transition from being a pop star to a music minister?
Well, I was seeking because I was very, very unhappy. I think people, generally speaking, dream about being successful as when they become happy, right? When I have a successful business, or I'm very well employed, maybe I make more money, that's when I'm going to be happy. And to me, I was lucky enough to become very successful very early. I was 23 years old. So when you reach that stardom and you're recognized all over the place, and it's paparazzi, and you're in magazines and radio and TV and all of that, and you realize, oh, you know what, that didn't bring me any happiness, you start searching more, right? And I think that was also I think I was lucky because I became unhappy very early. so I was successful and unhappy, and I just realized that there are eternal, almost like a moral code of the universe, eternal laws that are in the Bible, and they work very, very well. So if you pay attention to those moral laws of the universe that you can't avoid, can't ignore, and you start aligning your life to that, your life becomes much better, right? So that's basically how it happened. I was very hurt by the divorce of my parents, and I basically come from 3 generations of broken homes. And I had a girlfriend who I was dating, wasn't intending to marry, and we had a baby, and she left because I was treating her terribly. And that's what I did. I would undermine every relationship that I was in. And then I met this missionary that I told you about, and he had this incredible family. And I looked at him and I basically said, "Hey, how can I get what you have?" And he said, "I'll teach you from the Bible." And that's basically how it happened. I just said, okay, and I trusted this man, and he's one of my best friends still. And I listened to him, and I learned very intently, and invested very much in personal growth. And the results are basically self-evident, right? So I've been married for 25 years, very happy. My kids are very adjusted, very happy. And now I coach other people on how to succeed on a high level and have sort of this internal mastery that can not only drive success, but it can maintain it over decades.
Oh wow, that was incredible. You made mention of something, that you were in a relationship and you were not treating your girlfriend at the time well, and then she left you. What did you mean by that statement? Was there something like a lifestyle you were living that was unfair to her? What kind of a man were you back then?
Undermine. I would just drive them away. I would get scared when things got serious. It's sort of start saying, okay, maybe this is marriage material, and I would freak out. I would be scared of that because I was so traumatized by the divorce of my parents, and I would start doing something to drive them away. I would be rude, I would be mean, or I would cheat maybe. I would act like a jerk basically to drive the person away. And that was cowardly because I could have just broken up, but I would make them break up with me.
Oh wow. So I don't know how to say that was smart.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Unhealthy, I think.
That's so funny. So
yeah.
You have to behave badly so they can leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And that worked for you.
Well, until it didn't. Until you have a daughter and she's growing up in a broken home and you miss her. Yeah, it didn't actually in the long run.
Oh, wow. Hmm. Well, it's a beautiful thing to see now that life is different from you for you. You have a beautiful
Yeah.
family. You're doing something you love to do. You're creating real value to the world, and you're helping young people find their direction to Christ, which is a really beautiful thing. And when we heard your story, how you moved from being a pop star to a music minister, we were curious. I mean, what would have inspired this change? Leaving everything you used to enjoy. And, you said something that you were depressed, you were unhappy. Something that statement doesn't really make sense because, pop stars, what they see about them is a perfect life. Fame,
Yeah.
money, ladies, respect, privilege, all those things. Yet, you claim that you were depressed. I'm really curious to know exactly why you were living a depressed life as a pop star.
Okay, I didn't understand the last question. Sorry, can you repeat it?
Okay, sorry. Let me bring the phone closer.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know something. You were a pop star. And
Yeah.
when people look at pop stars from afar, what they see is fame, money, respect, privilege, girls, traveling the world. Those kinds of things that an average person would admire. But then, during the course of our interview, you made mention that you were depressed while you were a pop star, that you were not happy with your life. And that was when you found God. Now, I'm curious to know what exactly made you depressed. Because, you had it all. Why would someone like you be sad, regardless of how blessed they were?
Well, because those things are nice. It's very nice, obviously, to have fame and fortune and freedom and be admired and the status, all of those things. Those are things that are great. And actually, the problem with that is that it doesn't actually make you happy. You think it will, but it doesn't. It's a myth, right? So when we look at people that are on our screens, in our magazine covers, the truth is they have profound, painful dimensions to their life. And the fame doesn't fix that, right? So you have to figure out, and that's why a lot of careers actually disappear. And part of the reason why I coach high performers now is because of that. It's because in the long run, people are so talented and they succeed so fabulously that their outer success overshadows the inner mastery, inner capacity to even deal with it. And the real secret to true success, especially longevity, if you, it doesn't matter if you're in show business or academia or nonprofit work, is inner mastery has to feed that success, right? So when I coach people, I help them realign their inner world, their connections to family, their spiritual practices, their rhythms, their network, their relationships, the people that they're around. All of those things get reorganized, and then those same talents go much further and much higher because they're driven by inner mastery, right? So yeah, that's basically the answer. Outward success does not make you happy. Never. It actually never makes anybody happy. It just solves some problems. It has a shiny appearance, but beneath it, it's the very real struggle, just like everybody else does.
Wow, that may be quite true, but not everyone is going to agree. Some people think that the essence of life is having money and privilege, which is very important. Some people would just say maybe your personality was not in line with your former life, and maybe the life you're living right now is exactly the kind of person you were meant to be.
Yeah, and you know that's been the human pursuit since the beginning of time, and it's also been the biggest mistake since the beginning of time. All
right, Mr. Christian. So, do you have any advice for any young person out there watching you right now? Especially for someone who is struggling to find their identity or their purpose.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say, look, inner mastery is the baseline, right? It's not the baseline, it's the foundation for success. So, find a spiritual life. Have deep relationships with friends who are going somewhere, right? Who are going in the same direction, not that people that drag you down. Be close to your family, to your parents, to your siblings, to your spouse, to your girlfriend, to your boyfriend, to your husband. And then find a talent that other people need, that they're willing to pay for. And today, in today's world, whether you're in Nigeria or Mozambique or China or Russia, you, more than any time before, you can monetize that talent, and you can create real authority and develop a personal brand. And it's an incredible world of possibility out there, and that's sort of part of the thing that I do for people, is help them find that personal brand, develop and refine it, take it to the next level, so they can have both the inner mastery that they need to support that, and the outer success that they want.
Well, okay, that's interesting. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice. And thank you so much for your time, Mr. Christian, squeezing out precious time to have this interview with us from Lucky Udu Studio. We sincerely appreciate. We're hoping that people listen to your story and learn something from it. The world is moving really fast, and some people are struggling so hard to find themselves in an overpopulated society where everything is moving so fast. I think that stories like this have their purpose, and thank you so much for sharing the story with us. We really appreciate you. God bless you so much. So what's the name of your ministry? Can you tell us maybe a little about your present life and what you are into?
Oh, thank you for asking. So I have a couple companies. One of them, the main one, is called Exponential Life. So you can go to Exponential, spelled without the E, starting with an X, exponential.life. And that's basically my coaching business. My newsletter that is read by a whole lot of people, and if you guys are in the audience and you want weekly, twice a week, great advice about how to succeed at a deeper level and at a higher level, go to christianrayflores.com, and that's a newsletter that's read by 12,000 people every week, 70,000 people every month. And that's sort of the main place where I write a lot of sort of deep dives into success and significance.
Very interesting. All right, guys, you've heard his story yourself. If you are interested to read directly from Mr. Christian, please do not hesitate to take action. The details of the newsletter will be written on this very video. If you're interested, you check him out. Mr. Christian, thank you so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate. So at this point, we have to call it a day.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. So can you look at your screen and say bye?
Bye.
Hey guys, at Lucky Udu Studio, we now do international interviews. So you don't have to be in Nigeria or in Abuja for us to actually interview you. You can be anywhere in the world and we can still interview you. So you can be in Canada, Russia, India, Europe, it doesn't matter. As long as you are willing to share your story, we are willing to interview you. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting us to grow. So we've gotten to the point where we no longer just interview Nigerians alone. We are taking our interview outside the shores of Africa. Please tell a friend to tell another friend. If there's somebody you know living outside Africa that wants to share their story, we'll be more than happy to actually have them on our platform. Those of you who live outside the country, you have people outside who have inspiring stories with moral lessons, stories that can create awareness, stories that will make people think. See, do well to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to have them on our interview. Okay? Thank you very much. And bye.